All right, good afternoon, beloved, and hopefully everyone is doing wonderful today. Family, there's been a lot of videos that are being made about sundown towns, and I want to tell you my experience of going through a sundown town. But before I get into this, I really want to connect the dots with the system, right? Now, as you know, um, we're going into an election year, right? And there's a certain individual that's been doing a lot of their campaigning in a lot of these rural areas. Now, a lot of these rural areas are right rumored to be sundown towns. Now, again, you have to do your own due diligence to see what you come up with. But anyway, looking at the fact that this individual is doing a lot of their campaigning in certain rural areas. Another thing I think a lot of people really miss is, especially my people, you know, when we talk about this election year, this election process, there's what they call swing states. These swing states meaning they could be either blue, red, whatever. All depends on you know what they need to you know get said person in office. But another thing that I find amazing is, again, in some of these areas there are prisons, right? Or they're building prisons in some of these areas, or have built prisons in some of these areas. And as a felon, you can't vote. But again, having these bodies in these areas actually help with the numbers that they need, for their political reasons. You'll get it once you really start looking at things. Now, people say, well, so-called black people are 13% of the population, but yet they commit 50% of said crimes, which the people that really, regurgitate those talking points overlook the fact that the data shows that 60% of exonerees are so-called Negroes of people of color, right? And also that people of color are 7 times more likely to be falsely accused of murder and 4 times more likely to be falsely accused of rape. And on the other hand, so-called white people are 4 times more likely to abuse drugs. So let that sink in. And we know again that so-called black people tend to get stiffer penalties for said crimes, right? Not to mention all the, dealing with exonerations, all the false evidence and framing and stuff like that. We know this, right? But again, just I want you to connect the dots. Now remember, slavery was supposed to be abolished what? 1865? Except for the punishment of a crime. Again, connect the dots. See, when you realize what's going on, then you realize it's the same system. They just relabeled it, repackaged it, so on and so forth. And then there's another group in the mix of all this here that'll tell you, America has never been racist, or, that they haven't seen the so-called white boogeyman and all this stuff like that. But what you guys don't know is a lot of these people, right, they may be ethnically, something else, if you get what I mean, but when they come down to what they're categorized in the statistic, in the census, most of these people are considered to be Caucasian. So now you can understand why it benefits them to say the things that they say, trying to discredit, you know, the so-called black or the so-called Negro plight, right? In the history, of this country towards said people. But anyway, on to my story. For those of you who know, I'm from Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana, right? And I was going to another part of Louisiana to visit some relatives, myself and a cousin and his sons, and his son. I think his son and one of my sons. But anyway, as we're going to this other part of Louisiana, there's a shorter way you can get there by way of going through this certain part of Mississippi. And it had been a minute since I've been through this area, and I missed my exit, right? So I must have drove about 3 or 4 miles, 5 miles, and I realized I was off track. I was lost. So I stopped at this convenience store. And it was getting late. It was like I said, about 7-8 o'clock. Turning dark. It had turned dark. So I pulled up at the service station, and there was one vehicle there. When I got there, and I guess that's the employee's vehicle. And I got out the car, and I went to ask for directions. Now the gentleman in the store was he was respectful. He didn't really say anything off color, nothing like that. But he just gave me this strange look. It's really this hard look. But he still gave me the information I was looking for, right? Told me which way I had to go and turn back and stuff like that. And I said, thank you. And as I began to turn to walk out back to my car, I noticed there was 3 other vehicles outside now. They wasn't too close to my car, but they was far enough back. And I could see that they were sheriff vehicles. There was, vehicles for the local sheriff department. So I proceeded to walk out. Thought none of it. But it was still, the way it was parked, it was really odd. Got in my car, and my cousin said, "You see those sheriff vehicles just pulled up behind us, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I see that." He said, "No sooner as you got inside, they had pulled up behind us." I said, "Okay, cool." So I proceeded to back out, and pull out the parking lot and head to my destination. And they followed me. To the parish line, or to the county line, whatever they called it out there, right? They followed me to the county line. Once I crossed the county line, they turned back around and they went on back about their business. And that story just was in my head, for a while. I think about it every now and then. But what really made that story really start to stick out, as I thought about the movie that I talked about the other day, Rubber Ridge. There's a scene in this movie where the gentleman's, the cop, the sheriff pulls him over, the officer pulls him over, and the gentleman said, "Hey, I noticed you didn't use your lights." And the officer says, "Yeah, you noticed that, huh?" He said, "Yeah, with these modern day cruisers," or whatever he said that when you turn on the lights, they begin to record. Now, mind you, like I said, these officers never put on their lights when they followed me. You know, they didn't pull me over, right? But again, if they followed me. But I thought about that. I thought about that once I looked at this movie and I saw that. That just popped up in my head. And you know, looking at a lot of these sundown towns, you know, we hear different stories about, you know, how people of color get treated, and it's usually how the citizens treat them. But then you run across experience. You have people that have experiences the way the local authorities treat them and deal with them, stuff like that, and it's obvious that they don't want you there. And again, you know, I've had encounters with some of my people, you know, by way of social media, and they are oblivious, man. They really don't see it. I feel for these people because there's a lot of these brothers and sisters that are in the transportation industry that don't make it home because nobody told them and they was oblivious. I believe in self-preservation. And the sad thing about it is a lot of these companies these brothers and sisters drive for, they don't allow them to protect themselves, if you know what I mean. But again, you know, when you start to connect the dots, because if the local government, right, if they're acting like this and they're emboldening and empowering the people to act the same way, you mean to tell me that the state government don't see what's going on? Even the federal government don't see what's going on? Again, I remember now, there's many stories, you know what I'm saying? There's movies like Mississippi Burning and so on and so forth. There's movies, you know, A Time to Kill. These movies are based off different other stories, right? They may have taken bits and pieces from here and there. But again, these stories are part of somebody's experience. But there's going to be a clown that's going to tell you that it's just it's a figment of your imagination, right? There's going to be some idiot that's going to try to, minimize the way you feel, what you think, what you've experienced, and what your ancestors, what your forefathers have told you. And I with that being said is, these be the same people that have these fake profiles, you know, or they don't have any videos, any content on their channels, you know. And again, say people will never call out the system, but they will make comments like something is wrong with you for calling it out. You know, it's all inclusive when it comes down to celebrating, right? Celebrating this country's achievements and the things that it have done that, you know, they deem is worthy of celebration. Again, celebrating their independence. Meanwhile, said country had another group of people in bondage. Again, want to celebrate, you know, the survival of their ancestors, you know, and what the so-called pilgrims, right? But at the same time, trying to disassociate or disconnect the massacre that came along with that. But want you to celebrate these achievements or these holidays. But when you find out what they were rooted in, they mad with you. Like I say, family, it's very telling when you look at the system. And here is now there's a gentleman, there's a sheriff in a town in Tennessee that had said information showing the connection and the corruption and how it's connected to the, you know, the local government, the state government, all up to the federal government. But again, when I say stuff like this here, there's going to be some clown who's going to try to again, try to argue and debate and want to go back and forward. But like I say, family, I don't need anybody to validate my experiences of or what I have been through. But like I say, family, it's all connected. It's all, you know, part of the same system. And again, like I said, the sad reality for my people is that really don't understand what's going on. Just ask some of those people that went through Katrina and seen the other side, how these people act whenever they felt like not only they had the authority, but they knew that the authorities had their back. With that being said, as usual, peace, love. Shalom.